I don't have any coffee. I did come back. I had 2 small cups. I need to see. I think there's 16 ounces. I'm not sure. But it's funny how there's a difference in the price for just like 2 ounces more of coffee. And you can just basically grab your small cup and you can almost fill up a medium cup. So I don't understand why people would grab a medium cup and pay more money for something. But, it goes to show you, we're creatures of habit. So the title of this episode is Half Atheist. And so I think this is a different, I've never thought of it this way until recently. And so this is how it goes, basically. The reason I say half atheist is because, number one, I reject any notion of any God that any person has outside of me. So whatever God you have, that's fine. You keep that God to yourself. I don't need to know about your fucking God at all. I really don't. Your God can, you want to do whatever the fuck you want to do with your God, just do it. Okay? But don't bring your God over here to me. Okay? Now, so I don't believe in anybody's God. And really the biggest reason is because most of the times, the things that I hear are completely nonsensical. They're incoherent. And of course, that's not a surprise because, people just adopt the information that is downloaded into their brain at a consistent rate, while they are growing up in many households where they're just, immersed in religious superstition and ritual and conditioning behavior with positive and negative reinforcements. It's a very, very ugly, toxic environment. In fact, I think that really children in most cases are treating more like objects than they are treated as children. And so people shouldn't be surprised in the way that young adults are behaving, just because of the fact that they've been deprived of love and attention. And, people will give gifts and, make their kids go to church and all this other ignorance, and basically neglect the children and just use them. They're just tools. They're pawns, they're for show. And it's very sad because I see this in so many different places. So going back to the half atheist, I just reject any notion. Now, I have my own definition, I suppose, because it really wouldn't. It's the thing is, with me, with the definition of God, there's certain, supreme being. That doesn't set well with me, and it doesn't make sense either. Um, the thing for me, God doesn't have any human qualities at all. Period. When people give deities human qualities, that has a term. That term is anthropomorphic. If we give the God a human form and we project onto that God all these qualities that are sort of these archetypes, these superior notions of what a super being might be like. It's a very, very, very sad and pathetic condition if you stop and think about it. Religion is nothing more than sad, pathetic, sycophantic cowards that get together and assemble to beg an unknown entity for existential relief. And that's sad, because basically it's sort of like saying, I accept the slavery, I accept the torture, I accept the injustice, I accept the differences between human beings, I accept all the ugliness, because when I die, I'll go to a better place. How sad, how pathetic, how sick, how diseased can that be? And it's this invisible authority. I mean, you've got to realize, this Christianity and the Abrahamic religions, Jewishness, the Christianity, and the Muslim, and however you want to refer to them as, they're all rooted in the same sort of spiritual zeitgeist, excuse me, which is basically to obey blindly, accept without questioning an imaginary authority that is subjectively drawn out. And then you have commandments. This is an authoritarian zeitgeist. And we see this pattern repeat itself. Is this just authoritarianism? That's why we have all these wars. That's what wars are about. Authoritarianism, imposing your will by force. That force can be legislation, with the police, with the military, whatever. But that's what authoritarian is. And then absolutism is the fact that the authoritarian believes that there is an absolute entity and that nobody can tell them that there isn't one. And the one that they believe in is the absolute authority. They are completely tethered. This is Ron DeSantis, an indoctrinated child brought up in parochial school of Italian ancestry, Mussolini inspired. This guy, Ronnie D. the nuts, the dumb dictator, that is drunk on power. It is amazing. That they have the audacity to think that they can regulate an individual's, just have the government regulate an individual's sexuality and regulate a human's biology. The audacity, the perverted audacity and cruelty that's associated with it is sick. And they should be ashamed of themselves. And they should not even go to church on fucking Sunday. Fucking hypocrites. Ooh, got fired up there, didn't I? I mean, why not? And, we just take the shit. We just fucking take it. We take the abuse because we're conditioned to. Because that's what religion tells you you're supposed to do. Accept the abuse without complaining. Commandments. It doesn't get more authoritarian than that. And they're nonsensical. They are not designed to create a cohesive social fabric. They are anachronistic. It doesn't apply to this time. And the people who are desperately clinging on to this have been generationally conditioned and tethered to bizarre and insane concepts. And they now have money and they're privileged and they have political control and they're making decisions. And these are fucking troglodytes is what they are. They are superstitious assholes. I really didn't plan this, but it's okay. You see, as I was saying, with regards to the God I have, and I don't even think of it as a God because the relationship, it's me. I am part of it. I am in it. So the God is just all around and I'm inside somewhere in that fucking bubble, floating around like a little fucking photon of light. And I don't have any good or bad or boy or girl or heaven or hell or this or that. Any of these absolutes, they are I don't need absolutes. They're unnecessary. I can live with the uncertainty. I can accept the uncertainty. It's not a problem. Understanding reality is important, but people ignore it. They're scared to see it. Oh, let me tell you a story here from this morning. So I'll go to the to gas station, and I've befriended several of the attendants, and there's customers that actually walk up to me as well when I'm hanging out there. I'm minding my own business, but people are curious about me, so they do approach me on occasions, or they say things to me. Some, are very suspicious, kind of I can see that they're avoiding me at all costs, and that's because they know me. They know that I run around, and they see how I run, and they know what my opinion is, and what have you. But anyway, so I met two people, both of them with C's, Chris and Courtney, both of these males, and both of them fairly well. Chris, I've talked to before. He actually works there, but I've just found out today that his name was Chris. I'll talk about Chris first, since I'm on the subject. Chris looked at me. I was standing outside, and I was drinking my coffee, listening to music, and I could see that he wanted to say something to me. He was stacking up the water at the front of the door, the packs of 12 packs of water. And so I took my buds out, and I said, "What's going on? How you doing?" He says, "Do you have any wisdom for me?" Or actually, he said advice. And I said, "Oh, so you want some wisdom?" He said, "Yeah, yeah. What do you got for me?" I said some things to him the other day. It's been a while. I think it's been a couple of weeks since I've seen him. But I did talk to him about him before. I think he told me he was like 23, and his mom is like 38 or 42 or something. They're very close in age. He still lives with his mom. He's a good kid. He's very humble. He's very, he does appear sort of beaten down a little bit. And I think he kind of alluded to the fact that his mom sort of, you know, kind of gets down on his ass a little bit more than necessary. And it's almost physically apparent. There's this sort of meek, beaten down kind of submissiveness about him. But he's a good kid. He's a good kid. And so I told him, well, don't drink alcohol. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. And he said, "I'm already there." I said, "Good, good. Just don't ever have any doubts about that. Just don't waste any time with that." I said, "Ignore sports too while you're at it. All sports. Fucking, baseball, football, don't even pay that shit attention. It's like, if somebody says, hey, you want to go watch a game? Say, no, fuck no, I'm going to go jog. I'm going to go take care of myself. I mean, people don't take care of themselves. They don't give a fuck. And I mean, it's obvious, it's like more than 50% of the population here is fucking obese, so again, but it's not just a matter of caring against this is lifestyle. It's conditioned behavior. It's a aspect of domestication and modern day slavery, inhumane working conditions, and schedules, and poverty wages. I mean, it's sick and demented as far as what's going on. And really, the rich people have never lost the upper hand in this particular situation that we're dealing with here. But I'm going off track. But I did tell him, to ignore sports, and he was like, okay. And I think we got on the subject of God, and I sort of talked about some of the things here. But not in detail. But he had questions about that. He's still searching, and that's cool. I said, everybody should have their own fucking, existential crisis in a way. I mean, in many respects, it's not good to never be challenged in life, and to, I mean, if people want to know what what's a problem? There's a lack of challenge, unfortunately. But the other thing I talked to him about, and it just popped in my head, is, one of the stories that really struck a chord with me when I was really little was the story of Pinocchio, actually. And I haven't watched Guillermo del Toro's version yet. But the thing about the Pinocchio story, I sort of relate to it in a lot of different ways. And I think it's more profound than maybe people, um, attribute anything to. They just kind of look at it on the surface. But, the fact that, somebody is not quite, a real person, or, a human or a boy, it's very interesting, especially for me, when Pinocchio. Now, the version I saw was a Disney version, and I had a set of books that I loved going through, where they were all with the Disney drawings on the pages and stuff like that. And so they were all referencing all the movies, like, the Dumbo movie and the Pinocchio and Snow White and all the Lady and the Tramp, all the movies, all those. I had the book versions of those, and I would read them and look at the pictures, and I loved those. Um, oh shit, where was I going with that? Disney. I hate when I do that. I hate when I do that. Um, okay. So in the book, there's a part, there's a story where Pinocchio basically gets caught up with with some weasels, some fox and something else, and they're like bad news. And he ends up going to this island, and it's like this island that, basically all the fucking kids go there, and it's like where they can do whatever the fuck they want. And so they're all fucking smoking cigarettes and drinking booze and shooting pool, and they're all underage, but they're doing shit that adults do, and they're getting all fucked up and stuff like that. And there's a point in time where, they start to turn into donkeys because of their fucking, I guess, ignorance. It's a very profound and existential story. When I go back and think about it, it's pretty wild. Um, so, and I kind of look at myself and having had a similar experience, and I don't know if I read those books and I sort of put myself through those things, thinking that is what I needed to do in order to become, where I'm at. I don't know, but it's strange. But anyway, Chris and I had a good conversation, and kind of. He seems to enjoy the talks, and I'm glad that I have an influence on him. And also, of course, I have the opportunity at that point to share with him some information with regards to the local politics, and how awful and egregious they are. And, the fact that about 65% of the voters here in my congressional, I think it's the 7th congressional district, sent Corey Mills, who's really, I mean, okay, he's accomplished, but he's indoctrinated. He's grown up in the system. He's the MAGA archetype, and he has tunnel vision. I mean, he really is just a military guy. He's a military hawk. He's very entitled and privileged, and he really just serves a particular sector, and he doesn't do the congressional district at large any good. So, I am sharing that information. It's surprising me how many people don't know about him. Well, in a way, the fact that he won with 65% of the vote. And I know that at least more than half of his voters are, fat, drunk, stupid, undereducated, just bozos, they're selfish bigots and shit like that. It's just dumb fucks, general dumb fucks. And I don't know how anybody could be proud of having a group of supporters that are are such lowlifes and toxic fucking pieces of shit. But that's just me. um, anyway, the other person that I met was Courtney. And Courtney kind of bummed me out a little bit because he walked up to me and first, he asked me if I had a cigarette or if I wanted a cigarette. I said, no, I don't smoke. But then I don't like being a hypocrite. I said, oh, I don't smoke tobacco, but I do smoke weed. And he said, oh, you have weed? I said, yeah, I have some weed. He says, oh, do you mind sharing some? I don't mind, man. I'll give you some. You can have some. So he stood there, and then Courtney showed me he had a fucking hospital tag around his wrist, and he said he had just gotten out of the hospital. He had had a seizure, and told me he's epileptic. He was 34 years old, and told me he'd been living in Deltona since he was 9 years old. You know, and I felt really bad for Courtney because I mean he was fucking, he was wired out, and he got out of the hospital from epilepsy, and there was nobody there for him. So, it looks like, I mean, he's abandoned, or, disoriented. He's flipped out. Certainly don't want to call the police or anything like that. Get them, because I mean, the first thing they'll do is fucking, abuse him. But I talked to him. I shared some pot with him, and that seemed to calm him down. And he did. I asked him to take a picture of me, so he did take a picture of me. I'm going to post that on Instagram in a little bit. But you know. So I guess going back to the God thing, like I said, my God, it's an essence. And I take responsibility for everything I've done. I think that people are very scared and cowardly in many ways, that, the things that they do, and they think that they need this authority to atone for their sins, or, whatever they're perceived as the bad things they have done, the things that were the shit that's put in our head. Now, I'm not saying, it's very easy being cool. This is not a fucking mystery. And we don't need fucking rules written down. We really don't. If we knew how to communicate, we wouldn't need lawyers. We wouldn't need judges. We wouldn't need fucking politicians if we knew how to communicate. Everybody wants to impose their own will and their own ideas on somebody else. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. Everybody needs to be respected here. Kids, everybody. But, people are been exploiting other people, and they just want to keep doing it, and they just blatantly, just out in the open, do everything overtly to show the indications that they have complete disregard for human life. Complete disregard. This is a completely shitty environment that we're living in right now. I mean, people are suffering right and left. These assholes are just wasting their time with fucking bullshit nonsense. So even if I had a God, as a, this is again anthropomorphic. What I actually explained this to Chris, because when we did get into this, and I said, he tried to tell me, well, I think that God this, and I think that God that. I said, you know what, Chris? It's like, I just don't believe in this fucking anthropomorphic bullshit. And he's, well, you know what that is? And he says, no, I don't. I says, well, anthropomorphic is when, humans basically, we, give human qualities to a deity, so we can relate to it, and, we can sort of justify ourselves and stuff like that, but it's completely nonsensical, to do that. Because, I mean, if a God is so fucking great, so fucking huge, so fucking omnipotent, so fucking powerful, shit, man, I mean, we wouldn't, as humans, even have the capacity to see eye to eye with God. And if we do have that capacity to see eye to eye, it means that we're God. And if we're God, then, all I have to do is spit in God's face. Because we're the same thing. I'm just spitting at myself. And we just don't fucking man up. We don't take it, just don't up to our shit. We're very weak. Very, very weak. It took, no, it's not like I'm being arrogant here. I mean, it's taken me a long time to fucking figure this shit out. And it's not like I want to fucking put people through any particular personal hell, but I think that the only thing it takes is really, is to having more time dedicated to yourself and building yourself up, and doing the things that basically strengthen you in character. You don't have to have like, these bulging muscles or anything like that. I mean, that's just kind of going to extremes. And I mean, if that's what you're into, hey, that's what you're into. But really just to, kind of like come into your own and do the things, and, just like kind of sweat all the, when you sweat your body and you do shit to make your body sweat, you're also sweating on the inside, and that's shit that you don't see, and you're basically purging all the toxic shit that we consume on a day-to-day basis. Boy, I'm feeling pretty inspired this morning, am I not? I think I've talked long enough, though. But, I kind of left Courtney. I wished him good luck. Maybe I'll see him again, kind of a little worried about him. Chris, I know I'll probably see again. I'm not sure. Find out a little bit more about what his journey is and what he's looking for. And also, I've had some fun times with musicians lately, and encouraging young musicians and in their journey to sort of manifest their personal sense of creativity and their own individual message, which a lot of times goes really underappreciated. But anyway, that's all I have for today. And just remember, the past is an illusion, the present is confusion, and the future is your decision. Take care, stay safe.